Why hello my fellow apes, thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephen Woodford and this is a brief debunk of William Paley's Watchmaker Analogy. The Watchmaker Analogy, or Watchmaker argument, is a teleological argument, that is, argument from design, which states by way of analogy that complexity requires a creator. Cicero, Voltaire, Newton and Descartes are but a few who have presented variations over the centuries, but the most prominent was given in 1802 by William Paley in his book titled Natural Theology, or Evidences of the Existence and Attributes of the Deity. Paley wrote that if one was to find a pocket watch upon the ground, it would be reasonable to assume that, because of its complexity, it must have been made by an intelligent creator as opposed to natural unconscious forces. Thus, we have the first two premises. Premise 1, the pocket watch is complex, and premise 2, the pocket watch had a creator. Likewise, Paley reasoned, since we humans, or more accurately, organisms in general, are complex, we too must have been made by an intelligent creator. And thus we have the third premise, the human is complex, and the conclusion, therefore the human had a creator. Indeed, so say proponents, the complexity of the human hand and the complexity of the human eye are testaments of our creator. Or as they otherwise put it, every painting had a painter, every building had a builder, every watch had a watchmaker, and every human had a human maker, God. The argument is flawed for many reasons, and I've left links in the description for further reading should you be inclined. But here, we're focused on just 3 fallacies. The primary flaw of the watchmaker argument is that it commits a false analogy fallacy. It does this because it erroneously asserts that because two things share one quality in common, in this case complexity, they must therefore share another quality in common, in this case a creator. It's as fallacious as asserting that because pocket watches and humans share the quality of being comprised of atoms, they must also share the quality of being invented in the 15th century. Now, in order to make this flaw more obvious, let's contrast it against some other false analogies. Education is like cake. A small amount tastes great, but too much makes you sick. Yes, education and cake both have the quality of being great, but you can't get diabetes from learning. You can't get sick in the same way as you can by cramming cake. Faith is like Wi-Fi. It's invisible, but it has the power to connect you to what you need. Faith and Wi-Fi have the quality of being invisible. Yes, but Wi-Fi has been proven to work. Many of you watching now, for example, are using it. Whereas faith is nothing more than an extraordinary claim absent even rudimentary evidence. Watches are like humans. Each part is finely adjusted by an intelligent creator. Indeed, watches and humans are complex. But, believe it or not, watches don't have sex, and thus they are not subject to evolution by natural selection. Case in point, just because two things share one quality in common, it does not follow that they therefore share another quality in common. The second fallacy that the watchmaker analogy commits is a false cause. It does this because it asserts an exclusive cause and effect relationship between complexity and agency, when not only has such an exclusive relationship not been proven to exist, it has been proven not to exist. A raindrop is remarkably complex, but that doesn't mean that it was created by an intelligent creator. To the contrary, in fact, we know with certainty that raindrops are the product of natural, unconscious processes. To once again make this fallacy easier to identify, here's a few examples for contrast. Last night I ate tacos for dinner, and this morning I'm sick. Therefore, the tacos made me sick. Yes, you ate tacos for dinner, but it may have been the 5 cocktails that you slammed, or the carousel that those 5 cocktails inspired you to ride, that's to blame. I only failed my logic exam because I'm a Pisces. No, you failed your logic exam because, to quote Sheldon, you believe that the sun's apparent position relative to arbitrarily defined constellations at the time of your birth somehow affects your personality. The complexity of the human eye is a testament to its intelligent designer. Indeed, the human eye is complex, but it's a biological structure. And courtesy of Charles Darwin, we know that biological structures can and have evolved through natural unconscious processes. What's more, and more importantly, even if we didn't know of natural selection, we'd still be fallacious, as Paley was, to assert that complexity is exclusively derived from intelligent design. Absence of evidence is not proof of absence. Case in point, just because two things correlate, it does not follow that one caused the other. The third and final fallacy that I'd like to bring attention to is one that isn't technically committed by the Watchmaker analogy itself, but is almost always committed by its proponents, and that is special pleading. If, as proponents assert, complexity requires a creator, then by applying their own logic to their own conclusion, we must insist that since their creator is complex, it too must have had a creator. And since the creator of the creator must be complex, it too must have had a creator, and so on and so forth forever. It's turtles all the way down. Hence, the argument leads to self-refuting consequences. Now, just as we did with the prior fallacies, let's take a look at some other cases of special pleading. Sure, I violated company policy, but I shouldn't be suspended because my brother is the boss. Alex, how many times must I tell you? Being the brother of the boss does not excuse you for handing out photocopies of your butt during the meeting. Nothing happened at the seance because there were skeptics in the room. Indeed, ghosts only want to talk with gullible people, don't they? Look, if one must claim that being skeptical of extraordinary claims causes extraordinary occurrences to cease, then maybe, just maybe, the extraordinary events are not occurring. Also, why are ghosts always from the Victorian era? Complex things are the product of an intelligent creator, but my God was never created. Nice try, bucko, but if the rule is that complexity requires a creator, and one insists that we end the infinite regress, then to borrow a sentence from Carl Sagan and the Blade of William of Ockham, if we say that God always existed, why not save a step and conclude that the universe always existed? One must not multiply entities without necessity. Case in point, we must not grant an exception to a rule without adequate justification. As said before, there are many more ruinous objections of the Watchmaker analogy. Charles Darwin, as briefly touched upon, crucified the argument when he presented evolution by natural selection, which demonstrates exactly how natural, unconscious processes can, and indeed have, produced complexity most beautiful and most wonderful. And David Hume, before Paley's time, noted that we have never seen anything created from nothing. To the contrary, in fact, all creations that we have observed are rearrangements of already existing material. However, in an effort to be brief but efficient, here we've only covered 3 fallacies. That being 1, a false analogy. Just because two things share one quality in common, it does not follow that they share another thing in common. 2, a false cause. Complexity is not always the product of intelligent design. And 3, special pleading. If we assume the rule that complexity requires a creator, then it follows that the creator of the creator requires a creator, and so on indefinitely. It's turtles all the way down. So that's that, my fellow apes, a brief debunk of the Watchmaker analogy. As you're probably aware, many of the assets employed in this video belong to my card game Debunked, which will be in the hands of Kickstarter backers within a few weeks and be available to everyone else shortly after. Getting your hands on this is of course a fantastic way to support the channel, but another way is through Patreon. If you'd like to support Debunked content, or indeed me in general through my mother channel, Rationality Rules, then I'd greatly appreciate it. To entice you, I put together some pretty awesome goodies, if I may say so myself, such as receiving a high quality Debunked poster each and every month, being able to vote on what projects are covered next, and having your very own cartoon pop up at the end of these videos. Talking of which, if you'd like to vote on what theological argument this channel debunks next, then now is of course your chance to do so. I'd personally recommend the Kalam Cosmological. A few more apologists keep bringing this up lately, but the choice is yours. Anyhow, I'll leave you with the first Patreon-only poster, based on the fine words of Dennis Diderot. Those who fear the facts will forever try to discredit the fact-finders. Now I know I just said that I'd leave you with Diderot, and he's a fine gentleman to leave you with, but since this is a brand new channel, I'd just like to encourage you to subscribe if you enjoyed the content. This way you'll be the first to be notified when new content comes out, and you'll be really helping a fellow ape out. As always, thanks for your time.